ॐ शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாபிவ சம்பிருக்தோ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரौ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரौ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम्। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरणभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयम्। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशी विभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने. കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ടാത്തോറു രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കെന്നായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. All right, we'll do a review of 20 and the first few stanzas of 21. Let's see who had. Devi, can you do one of them? And then this Aarti on. Aarti is not on. Okay, Pramila, you can do one. Whichever ones you guys want to do. One of you can do 20, other can do 21. Devi, you're doing 20?
Yeah, I can try. I was not there last week, but I'll try.
If you haven't practiced, then I'll have somebody else do it then.
Didn't practice it, sorry.
Pramila, why don't you do 20?
Okay. Yeah. Dashakam 20. ऋषभयोगीश्वर चरितवर्णनम् प्रियव्रतस्य प्रियपुत्रभूतात् अग्निद्रराजा दुदितो हि नाभिः त्वां दृष्टवानिष्टमिष्टिमध्ये तवैव तुष्ट्यै कृतयज्ञकर्म.
Second line is Agnidra.
Agnidra. Okay. Agnidra Raja Dudito Hinabihi. Yes. Abhishtutastatra munishwaraistvam राज्ञः स्वतुल्यं सुतमर्त्यमानः स्वयं जनिष्येऽहमिति ब्रुवाणः तिरोधता बर्हिषि विश्वमूर्ते नाभिप्रियायामथ मेरुदेव्यां त्वमंशतो भूर्षभाभिधानः प्रभाविताशेषजनप्रमोदः त्वयि त्रिलोकीभृतिराज्यभारं निधाय नापि सह मेरुदेव्या तपोवनं प्राप्य भवन्निषेवि गदः किलानन्दपदं पदं ते इन्द्रस्त्वदुत्कर्षकृतादमर्षात् ववर्षनास्मिन्न जनाभवर्षे यथा तथा त्वं निजयोगशक्त्या स्ववर्षमेन द्वय तथा सुवर्षम्.
Last one. Swavarshamenad vyadadha suvarsham.
स्ववर्षमेन द्व्यदधा सुवर्षम्. जितेन्द्रदत्तां कमनीं जयन्तीम् अमोद्वहन्नात्मरताशयोऽपि अजीजनस्तत्र शतं तनूजान् येषां क्षितीशो भरदोग्रजन्मा.
Second line, first word. Atodvahan.
अतोद्वहन्.
Yeah.
अतोद्वहन्नात्मरताशयोऽपि.
Yeah.
न वा भवन् योगिवरा नवान्ये त्वपालयन् भारतवर्षखण्डान् सैका त्वशीतिस्तव शेषपुत्राः तपोबलात् भूसुरभूयमीयुः उक्त्वा सुदेभ्योऽथ मुनीन्द्रमध्ये विरक्तिभक्त्यन्वितमुक्तिमार्गम् स्वयं गदः पारमहंस्य वृत्तिम् अधा जडोन्मत्तपिशाचचर्याम् परात्मभूतोऽपि परोपदेशम् कुर्वन् भवान् सर्वनिरस्यमानः विकारहीनो विचचार कृत्स्नां महीमहीनात्मरसाभिलीनः शयुव्रतं गोमृगकाकचर्यां चिरं चरन्नाप्यपरं स्वरूपं दवाहृदाङ्कः कुठकाचले त्वं तापान् ममापाकुरुवात नाथ.
Brahmane Namaha. Hema, can you do the first 7 stanzas of 21?
मध्योद्भवे भुवयिलावृतनाम्नि वर्षे गौरीप्रधानवनिता जनमात्रभाजी शर्वेण मन्त्रनुतिभिः समुपास्यमाणं सङ्कर्षणात्मकमदीश्वर संश्रयात्वं भद्राश्वनामकैलावृतपूर्ववर्षे भद्रश्रवोर्भिर्ऋषिभिः परिणूयमाणं कल्पान्तगूढनिगमोद्धरणाप्रवीणं ध्यायामि देव हयशिर्शतनुं भवन्तम् ध्यायामि दक्षिणगते हरिवर्षे प्रह्लादमुख्यपुरुषैः परिसेव्यमाणं उत्तुङ्गशान्तधवलाकृतिमेकशुद्धा ज्ञानप्रदं नरहरिं भगवन् भवन्तम्.
Second line, Purushaihi. Anga Visarga becomes a F sound. Purushaif Parishevyamano.
परिसेव्यमाणं वर्षे प्रतीचि ललितामणिकेतुमाले लीला विशेष ललिता स्मितशोभनाङ्गं लक्ष्म्या प्रजापतिसुतैश्च निषेव्यमाणं तस्या प्रियाय धृतकामतनुं भजे त्वाम्.
First line, Lalitat. It sound is coming. Lalitatmani. Okay.
ललितात्मणिकेतुमाले.
The second line, on the Lalita, you added an extra A. Anga just Lalita Smita Shobhanangam.
रम्येऽप्युचि खलु रम्यकणां निवर्षे तद्वर्षनाथमनुवर्य सपर्यमाणं भक्तैकवत्सलममत्सरहृत्सुभान्तं मत्स्याकृतिं भुवननाथ भजे भवन्तम्. वर्षं हिरण्मयसमाः वयमौत्तराः राहम् आसीनमद्रिधृतिकर्मठकामठाङ्गं संसेवते पितृगणप्रवरोर्यमायं तं त्वां भजामि भगवन् परचिन्मयात्मन्. किं चोत्तरेषु कुरुषु प्रियया धरण्या संसेवितो महितमन्त्रनुतिप्रभेदैः दंष्ट्राग्रगृष्टगणभृष्टगरिष्टवर्ष्मा त्वं पाहि विज्ञनुत यज्ञवराहमूर्ते.
That's where we stopped. Okay. Right. We'll continue from 8. Let me see who I had today. Okay. Bhuvna, you can be student, and Vidya, you can be student. Sansa 8. Yam hyam disham bhajati kim purushakyavarshe samsevito hanumata dhrida bhakti bhaja sita bhirama paramadbhuta rupashali ramatmakah parilasan paripahi vishnu. So like just to recap, like we're going through the various regions and saying in the various regions how is Bhagavan worshipped in various forms, right? So then now he's coming to, let me just look at the image which I have on my other screen here. So here, Kim Purusha. So the Kim Purusha, if I look at where is it saying relative to that, to the south of Ilavrata. So if you look at to the south of Ilavrata, Kim Purusha, which is the pink region, just in the current modern day China area. So in that region of Kim Purusha, which is kind of where the Ayodhya region is, right? So kind of in that region, you are worshipped by Hanuman with Dhrida Bhakti. Hanuman worships you with great devotion, great and firm devotion, and then you are shining in that region as Rama along with Sita, right? So with that, oh Bhagwan, I'm meditating on that form of you as Rama accompanied by Sita, who's dutifully worshipped by Hanuman. Yam yam disham bhajati kim purushakya varshe, samsevito Hanumata dhrida bhakti bhaja Sitabhirama Paramadbhuta Rupashali, Ramatmakah, put a F, Ramatmakah Parilasan Paripahi Vishnu. Yam Hyam Disham. Sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, Rajesh. Third line, can you specify the split again? Sitabhirama?
Sitabhirama, the Abhirama, the word Sita and then Abhirama. Okay,
Abhirama.
So Sitabhirama Paramadbhuta Rupashali.
Okay. Thank you.
Yam hyam disham bhajati kim purushakya varshe samsevito Hanumata dhrida bhakti bhaja Sita bhirama paramadbhuta rupashali Ramatmakah parilasan paripahi Vishnu.
यां यां दिशं भजति किं पुरुषाज्ञवर्षे
संसेवितो हनुमता दृढभक्तिभाजा सीताभिराम परमाद्भुतरूपशाली रामात्मकः परिलसन् परिपाहि विष्णो यां यां दिशं भजति किं पुरुषाख्यवर्षे संसेवितो हनुमता दृढभक्तिभाजा सीताभिराम परमाद्भुत रूपशाली रामात्मक परिलसन् परिपाहि विष्णो
यां यां दिशं भजति किं पुरुषाख्यवर्षे संसेवितो हनुमता दृढभक्तिभाजा सीताभिराम परमाद्भुतरूपशाली रामात्मकः परिलसन् परिपाहि विष्णो यां यां दिशं भजति किं पुरुषाख्यवर्षे संसेवितो हनुमता दृढभक्तिभाजा सीताभिराम परमाद्भुतरूपशाली रामात्मकः परिलसन् परिपाहि विष्णो
Sansanai. श्रीनारदेन सह भारतखण्डमुख्यैः त्वं साङ्ख्ययोगनुतिभिः समुपास्यमानः आकल्पकालमिह साधुजनाभिरक्षी नारायणो नरसकः परिपाहि भूमन्. So in the Bharata Varsha, which is a region below that, below the Hari Varsha in that region, he says there you are worshipped as Nara Narayana. So we saw in Dasakam 16, where Nara Narayana, he said you are residing in the Bhadarikashrama region there, so in the northeast. So there you are worshipped in that region in the form of Nara and Narayana by the great saints like even Narada through Sankhya Yoga Nutibi. So we saw about Sankhya Yoga in Kapilavatam in Dashakam 15, where Kapila explains Sankhya philosophy to Devahuti. So through that form of devotion and Sankhya and devotion combined, Narada and others worship you in that region. So again, my prayers to you. Shri Naradena, here the Paripahi, which comes in the 8th stanza, 9th stanza, means protect. Paripahi is to protect. So Paripahi means to please protect me. So you in the form of Nara and Narayana, who's worshipped this way, please protect me. Shri Naradena Saha Bharata Khanda Mukhyehi. Put a Visarga and comma. Next line is goes away. Tvam Sankhya Yoga Nutibihi. Put a is Nutibis Samupasyamanaha Akalpa Kalamiha Sadhu Janabhirakshi, comma, Narayano Narasakaha, put a F, Narasakah, Paripahi Bhuman. Srinaradena Saha Bharata Khanda Mukhyehi Tvam Sankhya Yoga Nutibhis Samupasyamanaha Akalpakalamiha Sadhu Janabhirakshi Narayano Narasakah Paripahi Bhuman.
श्रीनारदेन सह भारतखण्डमुख्यैः त्वं साङ्ख्ययोगनुदिभिः समुपास्यमानः आकल्पकालमिह साधुजनाभिरक्षि नारायणो नरसखः परिपाहि भूमन् श्रीनारदेन सह भारतखण्डमुख्यैः त्वं साङ्ख्ययोगनुदिभिः समुपास्यमानः आकल्पकालमिह साधुजनाभिरक्षि नारायणो नरसखः परिपाहि भूमन्
श्रीनारदेन सह भारतखण्डमुख्यैः त्वं साङ्ख्ययोगनुतिभिः समुपास्यमानः आकल्पकालमिह साधुजनाभिरक्षि नारायणो नरसकः परिपाहि भूमन् श्रीनारदेन सह भारतखण्डमुख्यैः त्वं साङ्ख्ययोगनुतिभिः समुपास्यमानः आकल्पकालमिह साधुजनाभिरक्षि नारायणो नरसकः परिपाहि भूमन्.
That's a 10. प्लाक्षेर्करूपमैशाल्मल इन्दुरूपं द्वीपे भजन्ति कुशनामनिवन्निरूपं क्रौञ्चेम्बुरूपमतवायुमयं च शाके त्वां ब्रह्मरूपमयि पुष्करनाम्नि लोकाः. So now we'll kind of zoom out. So I attached another image there if you want to zoom out. And like I said, the regions like as defined, and even when you look at the map, it will look very confusing because it is not how the regions are now. This is an interpretation of how the regions would have been when this was maybe written thousands and thousands of years back, or even hundreds of thousands of years back, when the continents were not exactly the way it is right now, right? So anyway, so you just use it as a relative reference. It's okay. So he says in the region of Plaksha, which is like if you look at it, modern day UAE in Gulf area, you are worshipped in the form of the sun. Arka Rupam. Arka refers to sun. Like, of course, everything is Bhagavan, like we've spoken about when we saw in the process of creation, there is not any subatomic particle where there is no God energy. So everything is Bhagavan only. So you can worship your laptop also as God if you can do it that way, right? If you can get your mind to think of it that way. So anyway, here he says, in that region of Plaksha, you are worshipped as sun. In the Shalmala region, you are worshipped as moon, which is to the north of that. Then in the Kusha Dvipa, which looks like from the image more like the Africa region, you are worshipped as fire. Vanni means fire. And then in the Krauncha Dvipa, you are worshipped as water. Now, this Krauncha Dvipa, like when we do North America Sankalpam, we say Krauncha Dvipa. So this refers to the North America area. You're worshipped as water. And then in the Shaka region, you're worshipped as wind. So here Shaka, it's further north. So I don't know what region it refers to. And in the Pushkara region, which refers to the Southeast Asia, current Southeast Asia area, you're worshipped as Brahma Rupamayi. You're worshipped as Brahma. So you're worshipped in all these various regions in various forms. But at the end of the day, you are the same. So, please protect me, and I'm worshipping you in that form across all these regions. Plaksherka. So it's Plakshe Arka together. Plaksherka Rupamayi Shalmala Indu Rupam. Indu is moon. Dvipe Bhajanti Kushanamani Vanni Rupam. Like I said, that Vanni, that ha is a half ha, silent ha in some case. So Vanni Rupam. Kraunchembhu Rupamata Vayumayam Chashake, Twam Brahma Rupamayi. Some books have Rupamapi. If we have pa, just change it to ya for consistency. Brahma Rupamayi Pushkara Namni Lokaha. Plaksherka Rupamayi Shalmalayindu Rupam Dvipe Bhajanti Kushanamani Vanni Rupam Kraunchembu Rupamatabayumayam Chashake Twam Brahma Rupamayi Pushkaranamni Lokaha.
प्लाक्षेर्क रूपमयि शाल्मल इन्दुरूपं द्वीपे भजन्ति कुशनामनि वह्निरूपं क्रौञ्चेम्बुरूपमद वायुमयं च शाके त्वां ब्रह्मरूपमयि पुष्करनाम्नि लोकाः प्लाक्षेर्क रूपमयि शाल्मल इन्दुरूपं द्वीपे भजन्ति कुशनामनि वह्निरूपं क्रौञ्चेम्बुरूपमद वायुमयं च शाके त्वां ब्रह्मरूपमयि पुष्करनाम्नि लोकाः.
Rajeshji, Vayumayancha, like we say full M sound or N sound?
See, like I said before, right? The technically correct way of saying it is you have to put the in or im, depends on what is the letter coming later. So because cha is coming, it is an in sound, but it's okay to say im. It's not too wrong. Okay, but I'm okay either way, however you want to say it.
Okay. Plaksherka Rupamai Shalmala Indurupam Dvipe Bhajanti Kushanamani Vanhi Rupam Kraunchebu Rupamathavayumayancha Shake Tvam Brahma Rupamai Pushkaranamni Lokaha Plaksherka Rupamai Shalmala Indurupam द्वीपे भजन्ति कुशनामनिवह्नि रूपं क्रौञ्चे बुरूपमथ वायुमयं च शाके त्वां ब्रह्मरूपमयि पुष्करनाम्नि लोकाः.
That's 11. सर्वै ध्रुवादिभिरुडु प्रकरैर्ग्रहैश्च पुच्छादिकेष्ववयवेष्वभिकल्प्यमानैः त्वं शिंशुमारवपुषा महतामुपास्य सन्ध्यासु रुन्धि नरकं मम सिन्धुषायिन्. So now you zoom out of Earth. So he says, now when you look at the Dhruva, which is the pole star, so Dhruva, the pole star, along with a few other planets, form the shape of a fish, which is called as a Shimshumara in the sky. So that form, I don't know what is the English name of that, but it looks like a fish with its various fins and everything. So that formation, you are worshipped by the great rishis, the people who are outside of Bhulokam. So they worship you in that form, with Dhruva as the center of it and forming the shape of Shimshumara, and the three sandhyas. So three sandhya for us, it is morning, afternoon, evening, because it's all relative to the position of the sun of where we are, right? When the sun comes up, we say morning. When sun is at the peak, it's afternoon. When sun sets, we say night. So similarly, when the outside of Earth worlds also, there must be some reference point to what is the three sandhyas. But anyway, so and the three sandhyas, the rishis worship you in that form of Shimshumara with the Dhruva Nakshatram as the center of it. Sarvair, so that you please Rundi Narakam Mama Sindhushayin, please eradicate all of the sufferings and the sins that I have committed. Sarvair Druvadi Bhirudu Prakarair. So you cannot break that word. So you have to say that word together. Druvadi Bhirudu Prakarair Grahaischa. Gra sound, Grahaischa, comma. Even the next word, the whole word cannot be broken down because it's a whole bunch of sandhis together. So you have to say the whole thing together. Puchadi Keshva Vayaveshvabhi Kalpyamanaihi. So you can split it however you want, but try to say the word together. Tvam Shimshumara Vapusha Mahatam Upasyaha. So put a plus, put a is, and then put a plus. Mahatam Upasya Sandhyasu. And then a comma. Because every Sandhya, the various three Sandhyas, they worship you. So after Sandhyasu, comma, Rundi Narakam Mama Sindhu Shayin. Sarvai Dhruva. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and the second line konjam split thirumba solrela.
The second line, the split illa. So, like I said, is you have to say the whole thing together. Okay, you can divide it however you want because there's no right way of dividing it. Okay, it's Puchadi Keshva Vayaveshvabhi Kalpyamanehi. So you can put dividers and keep, but I can't tell you where to split it because you cannot break that and the sandhi will break. So
Thank you, Rajesh.
Sarvai Dhruvadi Bhirudo Prakarair Grahaischa Puchadi Keshva Vayaveshvabhi Kalpyamanehi Tvam Shimshumara Vapusha Mahatamupasya Sandhyasu Rundi Narakam Mama Sindhushayin.
सर्वैः ध्रुवादिभिरुडु प्रकरैर्ग्रहैश्च पुच्छादिकेष्ववयवेष्वभिकल्प्यमानैः त्वं स्विंशुमारवपुषा महताम् उपास्य सन्ध्यासु रुन्दिनरकं मम सिन्धुषायन्.
Third line, la Mahatamupasyas is sound because we are joining with that Sandhyasu, right? So there is a is sound there. Mahatamupasyas Sandhyasu. And the first line, last word is again the sound has to be gra, G-R-A. Because when you say gr, it becomes a house. Gra is planets. Graham. So grahaischa.
सर्वैर्ध्रुवादिभिरुडु प्रकरैर्ग्रहैश्च पुच्छादिकेष्ववयवेष्वभिकल्प्यमानैः त्वं सिंशुमारवपुषा महताम् उपास्य सन्ध्यासुरुन्दिनरगं मम सिन्धुषायन्.
After Sandhyasu, comma. Mahatamupasya Sandhyasu.
सन्ध्यासु रुन्धि नरकं मम सिन्धुशायन्.
So this one is puchchadi or prachchadi?
Pu, Pu.
Okay.
Rajesh, quick question. Line la Sindhu Shayin Shayan.
Shayin. Okay. Thank you. Shayin is Sindhu is ocean. So Sindhu Shayin is who is reclining in the ocean.
सर्वैर्ध्रुवादिभिरुडु प्रकरैर्ग्रहैश्च पुच्छादिकेष्ववयवेष्वभिकल्पमानैः त्वं शिंशुमारवपुषा महतामुपास्य सन्ध्यासु रुन्धि नरकं मम सिन्धुशायिन्.
Vidya, on the second line, last word, kalpya, ipandya, kalpyamanaihi.
कल्प्यमानैः. सर्वैर्ध्रुवादिभिरुडु प्रकरैर्ग्रहैश्च पुच्छादिकेष्ववयवेष्वभिकल्प्यमानैः त्वं शिंशुमारवपुषा महतामुपास्य सन्ध्यासु रुन्धि नरकं मम सिन्धुशायिन्.
That's it, 12. पातालमूलभुविशेषतनुं भवन्तं लोलैककुण्डलविराजिसहस्रशीर्षं नीलाम्बरं धृतहलं भुजगाङ्गनाभिर्जुष्टं भजे हरगदान् गुरुगेहनाथ. So we saw the upper words. Now he's going to the bottom words. So in the Patalam generally refers to the lower 7 words together. So although Patala is one of the word, but generally when they say Patalam, they might, in this context, they mean all the bottom words. So he says all of the bottom words, you are worshipped as the 1,000 Sahasra Shirsha Naga, as a 1,000-headed snake, which is the form of Adishesha or Balarama. So that's why, because it's also Balarama, it says you are having the Hala as your weapon, and then you are also wearing Neela Ambaram. You're wearing a blue color, right? That is the color of Balarama. So which he's referring to both together, saying you as a 1,000-headed snake, as Balarama who carries the Halam and who wears blue color, you are worshipped in that form. So Guru Arapa, please eradicate all of my ailments. Patala Mula Bhuvi Shesha Tanum Bhavantam, Lolaika Kundala Viraji Sahasra Shirsham Neelambaram Dhritahalam Bhujaganga Nabhi. Then put a plus and the next line will come together. Nabhir, it will become, because there's a ir in the next line. We're going to do the 2 lines together. Nabhir Jushtam Bhaje Hara Gadan Guru Geha Natha. Patala Mula Bhuvisheshatanum Bhavantam Lolaika Kundala Viraji Sahasra Shirsham Neelambaram Dhritahalam Bhujaganganabir Jushtam Bhaje Hara Gadan Guru Geha Natha.
पातालमूलभुविशेषतनुं भवन्तं लोलैककुण्डलविराजिसहस्रशीर्षं नीलाम्बरं धृतहलं भुजाङ्गनाभिर्जुष्टं भजे हरगदान् गुरुगेहनाद.
Third line, Bhujaganganabhir.
पातालमूलभुवि शेषतनुं भवन्तं लोलैककुण्डलविराजिसहस्रशीर्षं नीलाम्बरं धृतहलं भुजगाङ्गनाभिर्जुष्टं भजे हर गदान् गुरुगेहनाद. नाथ.
पातालमूलभुविशेषतनुं भवन्तं लोलैककुण्डलविराजिसहस्रशीर्षं नीलाम्बरं धृतहलं भुजगाङ्गनाभिर्जुष्टं भजे हरगदान् गुरुगेहनाथ. पातालमूलभुविशेषतनुं भवन्तं लोलैककुण्डलविराजिसहस्रशीर्षं नीलाम्बरं धृतहलं भुजगाङ्गनाभिर्जुष्टं भजे हरगदान् गुरुगेहनाथ.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, we'll go to Dashakam 22. How many of you have heard of Ajamila? Okay, I see Bhuvana raising her hand. Okay, guys. Okay, so this is Ajamilo Pakyana, which is a very famous. It's so in when you do the Bhagavata Saptakam for 7 days, there's so much to cover, right? So it's very difficult for somebody who's doing the Saptakam. They do about 2.5 hours of story every day, and the rest of the time is Parayanam. So 15 hours of stories, if you just think of it, there's 18,000 stanzas in Bhagavatam. So this how much will you cover in 15 hours of telling the story, right? It took Shukabrahmam 7 days to tell the whole thing. So there are certain things they pick which everybody talks about. So one such thing is Ajamilopakyanam because it is considered a very famous thing about a story, that an incident that happened which everybody talks about. That's why it's generally very famous in this one. So I'll give you some context before we get into the Dashakam, right? So it's all of us commit sins, whether we knowingly do it or unknowingly do it, right? And the sins committed could be through mana, karma, vacha, whether we do it by words, whether we do it by action, or we think of it. Even if you think of something bad, it is considered a karma that is going to follow you, right? So it could be a bad thing or a good thing, depending on what you are thinking. So now there are certain pariharams which are given, not that the pariharams are going to completely eradicate the sin that you have done. So you can't like go commit a sin and then go break a coconut tomorrow in the temple or give $101 and expect the sin to just go away. It is not going to go away, right? The sin you committed, you have to, but you can repent for the sin. There is something called as a repentance where you sincerely believe that you committed something and then you repent for it and do the appropriate thing. That is a valid thing. But it says just repenting alone might, in some cases, eliminate the sin you did, but that doesn't prevent you from committing the sin again, right? Because you will repent, but you will again go commit the same things. Here's the example they do is, in Kerala, they go bath the elephant in water and they come, they put it out in the land. The first thing it does is it takes the mud and puts it on itself. She says we are all like that. Even though we might, if somebody comes and neutralizes all our sin today, okay, saying you are at zero bad things, karma, I'm pretty sure we'll start accumulating bad karma starting the same minute, right? Because that is a natural thing. Because the reason is because we do things in this life, right? And anything we do, there is a natural tendency. So this Ajamilopakyanam is talking about, so in this case, Parikshit is asking Shukabrahma, how can somebody get out of this, right? Because you're constantly committing sins. So how do I get out of this? So then he talks about the story of this person called as Ajamila, right? That is a context for how this Dashakam comes about. Ajamilo nama mahisurah pura charan vibho dharma patan grihashrami guror gira kananamitya drishtavan sudrishta shilam kulatam madakulam. So here it talks about that a long time back, there was a person called as Ajamila. This Ajamila belonged to a Brahminical priestly family. So, his father was a big Vedic Pandit or something. So naturally, he was also in that lineage, right? And which meant that right from the childhood, he was doing all the right things. He was following all the right rituals and everything. So one day, what happens is he's leading a very, very virtuous life, dharma patan, a grihashrami. He was also married because he was married at the time, so he's a grihashrami. So he was taking care of his wife, taking care of his parents, and then he was also leading a very religious life. So one day, what happens is he goes to the forest to collect wood for the fire sacrifice, and there he happens to see somebody who is a kulatam madhakula, means he sees a prostitute. He sees a lady who is a prostitute who was completely drunk. So he happens to see her in the forest one day. Ajamilo nama mahisuraha, put a F, mahisurah pura, comma, charan vibho dharmapatan grihashrami guror gira kananametya drishtavan, comma, sudrishta shilam kulatam madakulam. Madakulam means one who is drunk. Kulatam means someone who is very immoral. And Sudrishta Shila means one who doesn't have the right behavior. So essentially, she was a prostitute who was drunk. Ajamilo nama mahisurah pura charan vibho dharma pathan grihashrami गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सुधृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलाम्
अजामिलो नाम महीसुरः पुरा चरन् विभो धर्मपदान् गृहाश्रमी गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सुदृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलाम् अजामिलो नाम महीसुरा पुरा चरन् विभो पतान् गृहाश्रमी गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सुदृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलाम्
अजामिलो नाम महीसुरः पुरा चरन् विभो धर्मपथान् गृहाश्रमी गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सुधृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलाम् अजामिलो नाम महीसुरः पुरा चरन् विभो धर्मपथान् गृहाश्रमी गुरोर्गिरा काननमेत्य दृष्टवान् सुधृष्टशीलां कुलटां मदाकुलाम्.
Stanza 2. स्वतः प्रशान्तोऽपि तदा हृताशयः स्वधर्ममुत्सृज्य तया समारभन् अधर्मकारी दशमी भवन् पुनः धदौ भवन्नाम युते सुते रतिम्. So when he sees, he not only sees this prostitute, he sees some other Shudra who is embracing that prostitute, right? So they both are hugging. And so Ajamila, he tries to control his vision, right? His mind. He says that I know that is very immoral and I should not be looking because he's grown up with that behavior. So he ignores, but somehow it is very difficult for him. So he ends up kind of like once in a while looking what they are doing, right? That Shudra and that prostitute. And somehow, but he eventually leaves, right? So they were all, she was drunk, he was drunk, she was not dressed. So he sees all of that stuff. He comes home. Although he has come home now and he's not seeing it, but the mind is very difficult to control, right? So he keeps thinking about it. He keeps thinking about what he saw. And this Ajamila, who is in this priestly family, who's married, who has all of these things, what he does is he goes and he brings the prostitute to his house as a servant first. So because he can't let go of her, right, from his mind. So he brings her as a servant so that she remains as a servant in his house. He gets more attached to her. And at some point, he leaves his wife and his parents and he marries this prostitute and then he goes away. He goes to live separately. He lives separately. And then what happens is he then has 10 children with her, right? So So what happens is because of previously when he was living with his parents and all that, he was following a certain dharmic life. He didn't need enough money. Sustaining was very easy. So now he's going and living with a prostitute. So the expenses go up. He has 10 children, which means expenses go up more, which means the normal way of collecting income doesn't work anymore, which means he has to resort to stealing. He has to resort to all kinds of stuff because he needs money to sustain the family, right? So he just completely, his life just changes and he goes into a completely opposite direction of doing all sorts of atrocities and things just to sustain his family with this prostitute and the 10 children. But the one good thing he ends up doing is amongst the 10 children, the last one, he names the last son as Narayana. That is the one good thing he ends up doing because of some purva karma punyam or something that he did or whatever he did in this janma. His last son, so Dhado Bhavan Nama Yuthe, he gave that last son your name of Guru Ayappa due to some punyam that he has done. Swataha, put a F, Swatah Prashantopi Tada Hritashayah, comma, Swa Dharmam Utsrijya Taya Samaraman Adharmakari Dashami Bhavan Punaha, put a Visargan, comma. Next line, the ir goes away. Dhadau Bhavan Nama Yute Sute Ratim. Like you can hear the thunder outside. It's like horrible thunder outside. Swatah prashantopi tada hritashayaha swadharmamutsrajya taya samaramhan adharmakari dashami bhavan punaha dhadau bhavan nama yute sute ratim.
स्वतः प्रशान्तोऽपि तदा हृदाशयः स्वधर्मम् उतसृज्य तया समारमन् अधर्मकारी दशमी भवन् पुनः तदौ भवन् नामयुते सुते रतिम्.
Second line, swadharmam utsrajya.
स्वधर्मम् उत्सृज्य स्वतः प्रशान्तोऽपि तदा हृताशयः स्वधर्मम् उत्सृज्य तया समारमन् अधर्मकारी दशमी भवन् पुनः ददौ भवन् नामयुते सुते रतिम्.
स्वतः प्रशान्तोऽपि तदा हृताशयः स्वधर्ममुत्सृज्य तया समारमन् अधर्मकारी दशमी भवन् पुनः दधौ भवन्नामयुते सुते रतिम्. स्वतः प्रशान्तोऽपि तदा हृताशयः स्वधर्ममुत्सृज्य तया समारमन् अधर्मकारी दशमी भवन् पुनः दधौ भवन्नामयुते सुते रतिम्.
Vidya, that second line, swadharmam, when you're saying, you can just say utsrajya.
You have to break.
I mean, you can say, or you can say together, but I heard you say swadharmam mutsrajya.
Swadharma mutsrujya.
No, it's either swadharmam utsrajya.
Okay.
Or swadharma mutsrajya together as one word.
Swadharma mutsrujya.
Okay. Yeah, somehow I'm hearing im and a mu together. So
I'll correct it.
Yep. Stanza 3. Samrityukale yamaraja kinkaran bhayankaran strina bhilakshayan biya puramana tvatsmriti vasana balat juhavanarayana namakam sutham. So this last child of his, right, required some special attention. So it doesn't say, maybe, he was requiring some special attention. So Ajamila was very affectionate towards the 10th child because the 10th child could not do things on his own. So Ajamila always used to feed him, always used to play with him, used to always take care of him. So he got very attached to the 10th child, right? And he always, because the 10th child always needed his support. So life goes on, right? All of a sudden, he has become old, right? Because within a flash, time goes. And he has now spent what was once was a very dedicated person, his life has completely shifted. He's now taking care of his family, taking care of his children, all of that stuff. And out of the blue, and none of us know when it's going to happen, death comes. So suddenly he's about to die, right? So in Bhagavatam, it says one of the main things you have to work on it is Ante Narayana Smritihi. When you're about to die, you should be able to think of Narayana. So it is, or you can say, oh, perfect. I'll put a cheat sheet and keep, or a post-it and keep. When I'm about to die, I'm going to think of Narayana. It never works that way, right? And the example I always give is because I travel a lot. I always give, you're flying one day, suddenly the plane starts dropping, right? And you think you're going to die. What is the first thing that's going to run through your mind? You're going to be like, oh my God, I forgot to tell my wife the password to the Excel sheet. I forgot to move that. There's so many things are going to go in your mind, right? The last thing you're going to think of it is, okay, I'm going to ignore everything and I'm going to think of Narayana. It never happens. The only way it will happen is if you've been doing it constantly and it's ingrained in you. If it's ingrained in you, it will naturally come. Otherwise, it won't come, right? Even for Ajamila, it didn't come because what was his focus? His focus was his family. So at the time of death, when he's just about to die, his entire life is flashing in front of him. And he sees all the bad things he has done in his life. And he doesn't know, he's just out of that fear of what's going to happen. And he says he's seeing the Yamadhutas. He's seeing that his life is about to go. Out of that fear, he yells out to his last son because he's so fearful right now. So he calls out Narayana and he's calling out to his younger son, the last son, because that's his most favorite son. So, and that his Bhattaripat says is only because of, Tat Smriti Vasana Bhalat. It's only because of the Vasana he had of constantly worshipping you over several janmams that even now he had the opportunity to call out your name. Right? So I'll give you one example, right? One of my uncle is called Ramakrishnan. Beautiful name, Rama and Krishna. They call him Kicha, right? Because that's what they call, right? So we butcher the name, and Venkat Raman, we call him Ramu, right? So they keep these names, they keep it for a reason. Is because when you constantly say these names and you call out, unintentionally you are saying Bhagavan's names, right? But then we then shorten the name and we put different names. So the purpose of that is lost. But in Ajamila's case, he was just blessed because at time of his death, out of fear, see, when you call out of love, it is one emotion. But when your life is about to go and you're super scared and then you call out, the emotion which the name comes out is completely different, which is what is happening to Ajamila. So he calls out the name of Narayana. Sa mrityukale yamaraja kinkaran, comma, bhayankaran streen. So I'm going to break at that na. Bhayankaran streen abhilakshayan bhiya pura manak Twat smriti vasana balat, comma, juhava narayana namakam sutam. Samrityukale yamaraja kinkaran bhayankaran streen abhilakshayan bhiya puramana twat smriti vasana balat juhava narayana namakam sutam.
समृत्युकाले यमराज किङ्करान् भयङ्करां स्त्रीन् अभिलक्ष्य
Go ahead. Bhayankaran streen abhilakshayan.
भयङ्करां स्त्रीन् अभिलक्ष्ययन् भिया पुरामनाक् त्वत् स्मृति वासना नाबलात् आज
Balat juhava.
बला
Balat.
बलात् जुवाह नारायण नामकं सुतं
Juhava. Sorry, juhava.
जुहाव
Yeah.
जुहाव नारायण नामकं सुतं समृत्युकाले यमराज किङ्करान् भयङ्करां स्त्रीन् अभिलक्ष्य यन्भिया पुरामनाक् त्वत् स्मृतिवासना बलात् जुवाह नारायण नामकं सुतम्.
Again the word juhava.
जुहाव नारायण नामकं सुतम्.
समृत्युकाले यमराज किङ्करान् भयङ्करान् स्त्रीनभिलक्षयन् भिया पुरामनाक् त्वत्स्मृतिवासना बलात् जुहाव नारायण नामकं सुतम्. समृत्युकाले यमराज किङ्करान् भयङ्करां स्त्रीनभिलक्षयन् भिया पुरामनाक् त्वत्स्मृतिवासना बलात् जुहाव नारायण नामकं सुतम्.
Okay, we'll switch halfway. Divya, you can be a student, and Devi, you can, actually Gayatri, you can be a student. Stanza 4. Durhashayasyapi tadatva nirgatattvadiyya namakshara vaibhavat purobi peturbhavadiyya parshadaha chaturbhujah pitapata manoramaha. So anytime I say this, people get very scared, because, you start imagining what will happen and you're dying, but you can't avoid it. It's better to know. I'm not going to get into details, right? So he kind of has like a near-death experience, right? Where his soul has not left his body, but he's kind of dead, but he's able to see what is happening, right? And what is happening is that people have come, the Yamadutas have come to carry his soul away right now. The soul has to leave his body. But because he called out the name Narayana, the name itself has power. So because of Nama Akshara Matra Vaibhavat, because of the power of the letters in the word that he said, Narayana, immediately people, some other beings also came there. And these beings also had Chatur Bhuja Pita Pata. So which means they also had 4 hands. They were also wearing the yellow vastram, just like how Narayana is, and Manoramaha, which means they look very pretty and beautiful. So few beings come there as well. So he's just seeing all this, and all of this is happening in a flash, right? But a conversation is going to happen. But for him, in earth life, it all happens in a flash. So he suddenly sees these beings have actually come there, and then they're also standing in front of him. Durasha yasyapi tadatva nirgata, put a plus, tvadiya namakshara matra vaibhavat. So those 2 lines together. Purobhi petur bhavadiya parshadaha, comma, chaturbhujaha, put a F, chaturbhujah, pitapata manoramaha. Some books are manoharaha. Just change it to ramaha. It means the same thing, but with consistency, change it to manoramaha. Durashayasyapi tadatva nirgatattvadiyanamakshara vaibhavat purobhipetur bhavadiya parshadaha chaturbhujah pitapata manoramaha.
दुराशयस्यापि तदात्वनिर्गता त्वदीय नामक्षरमात्रवैभवात् पुरोभिपेतुर्भवदीय पार्षदाः चतुर्भुजाः पीठपातमनोरमाः.
In the last name, chaturbhujah, if sound, chaturbhujah pitapata manoramaha.
चतुर्भुजाः पीठपता मनोरमाः दुराशयस्यापि तदात्वनिर्गता त्वदीयनामक्षरमात्रवैभवात् पुरोभिपेतुर्भवदीय पार्षदाः चतुर्भुजाः पीठपातमनोरमाः.
The last line, second word, pitapata.
Pitapata Manorama.
You're saying pata, you're saying it's pata. Pitapata.
Pitapata Manorama. Sorry, third time. Okay.
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 2 times, yeah.
दुराशयस्यापि तदात्वनिर्गत त्वदीय नामाक्षरमात्रवैभवात् पुरोभि भवदीय पार्षदा चतुर्भुजाः पीतपटा मनोरमाः.
Third line, parshadaha, visarga is there.
पार्षदाः.
And 4th line, chaturbhuja, the visarga becomes a F sound.
दुराशयास्पि तदात्वनिर्गत त्वदीयनामाक्षरमात्रवैभवात् पुरोभिपेतुभवदीय पार्षदाः चतुर्भुजाः पीतपटा
Manoramaha. Again, in the 4th line, chaturbhuja, if.
चतुर्भुजा.
If, F sound. Chaturbhuja. Yeah.
Bhuja. Okay.
Yeah.
Chaturbhuja.
And the first line, first word, mattum, durashayasyapi.
Durashayasyapi.
Yeah. That's right. Ahum cha sampashya vikarshato bhatan vimunchati tyarurudhur baladami nivaritaste cha bhavajjanaistadha tadiya papam nikhilam nyavedayan. So here, so in the Yamadutas, when your soul is supposed to leave the body, it is going to take a particular path, right, based on all your karmas, etc., all of that stuff. So when that is, but that is not able to happen now because these beings who have come, Chaturbhujas, they have come and they are preventing that from happening. So there's a conversation that is going to happen between these Yamadhutas and the Vaishnava Dutas who have come. When the Yamadutas are saying, it's our responsibility, it's our jurisdiction to take the soul on its path, right? So who are you all to come and interrupt and prevent me from doing my duty? You are not supposed to do that. So for which the Vaishnava Dutas are saying, in the first they question, who are you? Because he says, they ask, if you are they are making sure, are you the right people who are supposed to carry this? Because if you are supposed to do your duty, I need to make sure you know the dharmas of when a soul can leave the body, where a soul needs to go, all of those things. So they say he is not supposed to come through the margam that you are going to take them in right now. So the Vishnudutas are questioning those Yamadutas, saying, how can you take a soul and go this way? I want you to first tell me that you know the dharma of, whether why a soul is destined to go in a particular place. To which the Yamadhutas, it says here, Tadiya Papam Nikhilam Nyavedayan. So the Yamadhuta says, of course we know what we are doing. He says, let me narrate you every single sin this Ajamila has committed from the time of his birth, right? Through words, through action, through his manas, and they list out all the sins that Ajamila has committed. So you just think of it, you're sitting there, and if somebody is listing out all the sins you have committed through your entire life, and you have to hear that out, right? So that's what is happening. The Yamadhutas are listing every single thing that Ajamila has committed and saying it's for all these purposes that he is not supposed to get liberated or anything. He has to go through the path where his soul has to be born again, and he has to go through whatever the journey needs to be. So he has to come with us, right? So they're listing out every single thing that Ajamila has done. Amum cha sampashya vikarshato bhatan, vimunchatetya rurudhur. So we cannot break that word. So vimunchatetya rurudhur baladami nivaritaste cha bhavaj janaistada, tadiya papam nikhilam nyavedayan.
Anum cha sampashya
I'll say it here. Let me say it and then you repeat. Sorry, no worries. Ahum cha sampashya vikarshato bhatan vimunchatetyaru baladami nivaritaste cha bhavajjanaistada tadiya papam nikhilam nyavedayan.
Anum cha sampashya vikarshato bhattan vimunchate tyarurudhur baladami nivaritaste cha bhavajanaistada tadiya papam nikilam nyavedayan.
First line, last word, the same thing as last stanza, and the ta sound is coming, but you are saying ta. Bhatan.
Amum cha sampashya vikarshato bhatan vimunchate tyarurudhur baladami nivaritaste cha bhavajanaistada tadiya papam nikilam nyavedayan.
अमुञ्च सम्पाश्च विकर्षतो भटान् विमुञ्चतेत्यारुरुधुर्बलादमी निवारितास्ते च भवजनैस्तदा तदीयपापं निखिलं
Nyavedayan.
Nyavediyan. Okay.
And the third line, last word, bhavaj janaistada.
अमुञ्च सम्पाश्च विकर्षतो भटान् विमुञ्चतेत्यारुरुधुर्बलादमी निवारितास्ते च भवज्जनैस्तदा तदीयपापं निखिलं न्यवेदयन्.
So here the difference between that word akhilam and akhilam means everything. So Akhilam means everything. Nikhilam kind of means nothing was left behind, right? So because the kind of the context of this is Akhilam is in the context of what you can see in that subset, everything was done. Nikhilam means in the entire superset of everything that was done, nothing was left out and every single thing was narrated, right? Because it's all documented somehow. Stanza 6. Bhavantu papani katam tu nishkrite krite pibho dandanamasti panditaha na nishkrite kim vidita bhavadrisham iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire. So they say that okay, let Ajamila have committed sins. So the Vishnu Dutas are saying we are not questioning the sins that Ajamila has committed. Yes, he has committed all of those sins, but there is, or like I said, there is for some sins, there is a prayashchittam that can be done if it is done in the right way with the right method. And the way Ajamila invoked the name of Narayana at the time of his birth with that fear and with that complete love and fear combined, right? Because he's very fearful. At the same time, he wants his son, though, right? So it doesn't matter why he called out. Just like when you say Vishnu Sahasranama, right? 1,000 names. How many people here know the meaning of all the 1,000 names? We don't, right? But still, why chanting Vishnu Sahasranam is beneficial, right? And some of this is going to come a little later, so I won't jump to that. That's because you don't need to know the meaning of everything. That name itself carries the power. So that's what these Vishnudus are saying, because he called out the name of Bhagavan with that kind of fear and the passion and the desire, which is different from you or me saying Narayana right now, right? That wiped out the sins that he has committed, because of which he cannot die right now. His time is not right, that he cannot die right now, right? So he has to stay. So that is what he said. They're questioning iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire. So you Guru Ayappa, your dutas, they question this to the Yamaduta, saying, how can you take Ajamila's life right now? Because by uttering at the time of his death, his sins have been wiped out so far. Bhavantu papani katham tu nishkrite, put a plus, kritepi bho dandanamasti panditaha. They're saying you're all panditas, you're all experts, so you should know the rules of how this works. Na nishkritihi, put a ih, nishkrite kim vidita bhavadrisham, put a im at the end of that line, bhavadrisham, comma. Next line, if you have miti, it becomes a iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire. Bhavantu papani katam tu nishkrite krite pibho dandanamasti panditaha na nishkrite kim vidita bhavadrisham iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire.
Bhavantu papani katham tu nishkrite krite pibo dandanamasti panditaha na nishkriti kim vidita bhavadrisham iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire. Bhavantu papani katham tu nishkrite krite pibo dandanamasti panditaha na nishkriti kim vidita bhavadrisham iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire.
भवन्तु पापानि कथं तु निष्कृते कृतेऽपि भो दण्डनमस्ति पण्डिताः न निष्कृतिः किं विदिता भवादृशाम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
And the na nishkriteh H sound. Na nishkriteh kim.
न निष्कृते किं.
Yeah. Kriteh kim.
कृते किं भवन्तु पापानि कथं तु निष्कृते कृतेऽपि भो दण्डनमस्ति पण्डिताः न निष्कृतिः किं
The kriti, see, Krithi, kriti, right?
Yes.
Instead of that visarga, you put a H there. So kriteh.
Krite.
Yeah.
Okay. न निष्कृते किं विदिता भवादृशाम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे।
Stanza 7. श्रुतिस्मृतिभ्यां विहिता व्रताधयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृन्तति द्वयीम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे. So saying Shruti. Shruti is like the Vedas. Anything which is not written down, which was just heard. So which is everything related to the Vedas. Smriti is anything that has been written by somebody. So there's Manusmriti, Narada Smriti, multiple Smritis which are there, which has been, documented by somebody, right? So all the Shrutis and the Smritis, they talk about how to atone for the sin that you have committed. Like we said, you commit a certain sin, genuinely, if you want to atone for it, you can wipe out that sin. There are recommendations for it, but it doesn't talk about how to prevent you from committing that sin again, like we spoke in the beginning, right? It only cleans out some of those things. But they say, but Ajamila, over the last so many years, every day, he has been calling out to Narayana. So by saying Narayana, Narayana, and calling out his son, because he's been so loving of his son and he's been calling his son's name so many times, he said he has used that word Narayana Akshram so many times that it has gradually been cleansing all of his things. And then over the last several years, he has stopped committing all of the sins also, because eventually it purified him. Right? So that's what Iti Prabhu, your Dudas are telling Yamadutas. So that's why all his sins have been wiped out, and it's also preventing him from committing more sins now. Shruti Smritibhyam Vihita Vratadayah, Punanti Papam Na Lunanti Vasanam Ananta Seva. So serving Lord Narayana, Ananta Seva. Ananta Seva tu Nikrantati Dvayim, put a im at the end of that line, comma, Dvayim. Again, next line, Miti becomes Iti. Iti Prabho Tvatpurusha Bhabashire. Shrute Smritibhyam Vihita Vratadayah Punanti Papam Na Lunanti Vasanam Ananta Seva Tu Nikrantati Dvayim Iti Prabho Tvatpurusha Bhabashire.
श्रुतिस्मृतिभ्यां विहिता व्रतादयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृन्तति द्वयीम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
And the iti on the short e, okay? Iti Prabhu.
इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे. श्रुतिस्मृतिभ्यां विहिता व्रतादयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृन्तति द्वयीम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
इति स्मृतिभ्यां विहिता व्रतादयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृतिं द्वयीम् निकृन्तति द्वयीम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे. श्रुतिस्मृतिभ्यां विहिता व्रतादयः पुनन्ति पापं न लुनन्ति वासनाम् अनन्तसेवा तु निकृन्तति द्वयीम् इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
You might have a question.
Rajesh, so on the last line, more repeat ஆகுதுல்ல, இதி பிரபோ த்வத்புருஷா பபாஷிரே, அதுக்கு மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் மீனிங் சொல்றேல.
அதான் the iti means thus, 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 Prabho, O Guruvayurappa, Tvatpurusha, your messengers, Bhabashire, they spoke. So this is what your messengers spoke to the Yamadutas. So that's why it will keep, as long as they are having that conversation, a few stanzas, that will keep repeating. Okay. That's what they said. Stanza 8. Anena bhojanma sahasra kotibhihi kriteshu papeshwapi nishkriteh krita यदग्रहीन्नाम भयाकुलो हरेः इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा भभाषिरे. Running out of time, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but like we said in the Dashakam 10, when we spoke about the Jaya, Dashakam 11, when Jaya, Vijaya were going to be born as three, I was kind of explaining the difference between devotion with love and the fear, right? That is there. So because like I said, how if you are fearing something, the intensity of the fear in your body is higher than the intensity of love that is there in your body. And for Bhagavan, it doesn't matter whether you love or hate, it's the intensity that matters, because at the end of the day, you're connecting to him. So here a little bit drawing the parallel, that's what the Dutas are saying. They're saying that even though a lot of times he has called the word Narayana, so he has accumulated all of that, at the time of death, he's calling out of such intense fear because his life is going. So the amount of fear with which he called out the name of Narayana became even more powerful. That because of which all of those things got eradicated, or the sins were able to get wiped out. That's what they are also clarifying. That yes, it is, of course, you will get merit by saying all the names of Narayana all the time, but the intensity with which you call, like you see a lot of people crying and earning and calling out, right? That passion is different from us just using the word Narayana right now, right? We know that. So that's what they're saying here. Anena bho janma sahasra kotibihi, kriteshu papeshwapi nishkritihi, put a h again, nishkritih krita, yada grahinama bhayakulo harehe, put a visarga comma, harehe. Next line, the riti will become iti prabho tvatpurusha bhabashire. Anena bhojanma sahasra kotibihi kriteshu papeshwapi nishkritih krita yadagrahinama bhayakulo harehe iti prabho tvatpurusha bhabashire. Divya, just one
Rajesh,
time
what
for
is...
yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Baba Shirena, na? It's
To
coming
say.
in every line.
To say.
To say. Okay, one time. Anena bo janma sahasra kotibihi kriteshu papeshvapi nishkriti krita yadagrahin nama bhayakulo harehe iti prabho tvatpurusha babashire.
Yeah, Gayatri.
अनेन भो जन्म सहस्रकोटिभिः कृतेषु पापेष्वपि निष्कृतिः कृता यदग्रहणीं भयाकुलो हरेः इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
And the third line, first one, yadagrahinama.
यदग्रहीनाम भयाकुलो हरेः इति प्रभो त्वत्पुरुषा बभाषिरे.
That's a nine. Nrinama buddhyapi mukunda kirtanam dahatya ghaughan mahimasya tadrishah yatagniredhamsi yataushadham gadan iti prabho tvatpurusha bhabashire. So they're giving two examples here. They're saying why you don't need to know the meaning. It's good to know the meaning, but you don't need to. He says, just like how when you put something into the fire, that the fire burns it irrespective of what you put into it. The fire, and fire doesn't say you are a paper versus you are a food versus you are something else. Its duty is to burn when you put something into it, right? And the second example he gives is Yeda Ushadam Ghadan, right? So I always give this example. I'll say it in one quick minute. Somebody who's an expert, Girish is an expert in chemistry. He might know how the properties of the medicine may work when I put a Tylenol in. I am illiterate when it comes to medicine, but I know I have used it in the past. It is going to work for me. I might have a child who has no idea what a medicine is, but because I'm telling, he's going to pop a pill into its mouth. In all three scenarios, the medicine is going to do its duty, right? If somebody knows how it does, okay, they can understand better how it is going to go and cure them. I may do it out of pure experience. Somebody who has no idea still can pop that pill. The pill is going to solve. He says exactly that way. You don't need to know how the word Narayana is going to go and cure your sins, nor do you need to know the meaning of the word Narayana. As long as you're seeing the word Narayana, just like how the fire burns whatever comes, and the medicine is supposed to do its duty of, eradicating your fever or whatever, this word Narayana will eradicate the sins. So don't think too much about understanding the meaning. Of course, it's always good to know the meaning of all of this, so you can, contemplate on it more and understand it better. Nrinam abhudhyapi, if you want to break it that ma, Nrinam abhudhyapi mukunda kirtanam, dahatya ghaugan mahimasya tadrishah yatagni redhamsi yataushadham gadan, put a in at the end of that line, gadan. Next line, the niti becomes iti. Iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire. Nrinam buddhyapi mukunda kirtanam dahatya ghaugan mahimasya tadrishah yathagni redhamsi yataushadham gadan iti prabho tvat purusha bhabashire.
Nirnamadbuddhyapi mukunda kirtanam dahatya gaugan mahimasya tadrishah yatagniredamsi yataushadam gadan iti prabho tvatpurusha babashire.
Nirnam abudya yapi mukunda kirtanam dahatya gaugan mahimasya tadrushyah yathagni redhamsi yataushadam gadan iti prabho tvat purusha babashire.
Understand? Ithi ritairyamya bhatairapasrute bhavat bhatanam cha ghane tirohite bhavat smritim kanchana kalamacharan bhavat padam prapi bhavat bhatairasau. It's a long conversation that happens. For Narayaneeyam, they shrunk it down to the key points, right? But there's a long conversation that goes on. And Ajamila is sitting here looking at this or observing this conversations going on, right? And finally, the Vishnudutas are convincing the Yamadutas, saying his body, his soul cannot leave the body right now, because he was going to depart right now based on the sins he had committed and certain timelines and certain conditions. But because those have been eradicated, the time is not right for the soul to depart. So he has to stay for some more time, right? And so with that, Ajamila, then they both depart, right? The Vishnu Dutas depart, the Yamadutas depart. Ajamila comes to consciousness. So he kind of had the near-death experience. And then he's saying, oh my God, what have I done? Right? I was blessed to be born in such a great family because of all the good karma I have done. And then I vanquished it, right? Over a period of time, we're doing all of these things, abandoning my parents, my wife, and going into this path, committing all these atrocities. So he immediately quits everything that he has. And then he then goes on, and then he becomes essentially like a sannyasi, right? He abandons everything, and then he goes into meditation, and eventually, after some more years, Bhavat Padam, he gets liberated and reaches your world. He reaches Vaikuntham because he gets liberated. Iti ritair, so ir sound, iti ritair yamya bhataira pasrute, bhavat bhatanam cha gane tirohite bhavat smritim kanchana kalam acharan, bhavat padam prapi bhavat bhatairasau. Ithi ritairyamya bhatairapasrute bhavat bhatanam cha gane tirohite bhavat smritim kanchana kalamacharan bhavat padam prapi bhavat bhatairasau.
Iti riteryamya bhater apasrute bhavat bhatanam भवद्भटानां च गणे तिरोहिते भवत्स्मृतिं कञ्चन कलामाचरन् भवत्पदं प्रापि भवद्भतेरसौ.
Third line, last word. Kalamacharan.
कालमाचरन् भवत्पदं प्रापि भवद्भतेरसौ.
इति ऋतैर्याम्यभटैर्पासृते भवद्भटानां च गणे तिरोहिते भवत्स्मृतिं कञ्चन कालमाचरन् भवत्पदं प्रापि भवद्भटैरसो.
Last stanza. स्वकिङ्करावेदनशङ्कितो यमः त्वदङ्घ्रिभक्तेषु न गम्यतामिति स्वकीयभृत्यान् अशिशिक्षदुच्चकैः सदेव वातालयनाथ पाहि माम्. So then the Yamadutas went back to Yama, and then Yama said, okay, Bhavat Twadangri Bhakteshu. So the people, the great devotees of yours were always dedicated to your feet, to not go near them. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to die. It just means that, you are not going to go through a terrible journey after death, and you don't have, a lot of the sins will get eradicated if you're constantly praying to Bhagwan, because that is the only way to eradicate the sins. Of course, repentance, and to make sure you're not committing the sins again is the devotion, is the only way. So with that is Ashishikshat, Ashishikshat. This word is going to come again in 24. It just means instructions, giving very clear instructions. Uchchakaihi, saying very loudly. So giving very clear, crisp instructions, saying that anybody who is completely devoted to your feet, Guru Arapha, their sins will eventually get eradicated. It will also prevent them from committing the sins again. Guru Arapha, please eradicate all my ailments. Swa Kinkaravedana Shankito Yamaha. Put a visarga comma there. Next line, if you have a is, that will go away. Twadangri bhakteshu na gamyatamiti swakiya bhrityan. I'm breaking at that na. Bhrityan. Next word starts with the a. Ashishikshad. Okay, breaking at the da. Ashishikshad uchchakaihi, comma. Sa deva vathalaya natha pahimam. Swakinkaravedana-shankito yamaha twadangri-bhakteshu na gamyatamiti swakiya-bhrityan ashishikshad uchchakaihi sadeva vatalayanatha pahimam.
स्वकिङ्करवेदनसङ्कितो यमः त्वदङ्घ्रि भक्तेषु न गम्यतामिति स्वकीयभृत्यान् अशिशिक्षद् उच्चकैः सदेव वातालयनाथ पाहि माम्.
स्वकिङ्करा वेदन शङ्कितो यमः त्वदङ्घ्रि भक्तेषु न गम्यतामिति स्वकीयभृत्यान् अशिक्षदु.
Anganga two she is summing. Ashishikshad. Yeah.
Ashishikshadu uchchakaihi.
Ashishikshad uchchakaihi.
Ashishikshad uchchakaihi.
Yeah.
Sadeva Vatalayanath Pahimam.
Shri Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. That's here today. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakam anupamitam kaladeshavadibhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashatasahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurpurushartatmakam brahmatattvam tattavadbhadi sakshat gurupavanapure anta bhagyam jananam kahena vacha manasendriyerva बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि.
Thank you, Rajesh ji.
Thank you,
Thank
Rajesh.
you.
Everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Rajesh.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Rajesh.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.